Hello and welcome to the tech review of the cruiser tank Grand 1, which is a British reward vehicle at rank 2 with a battle rating of 2.7, and it is quite a unique vehicle. Also, it is the fourth and final vehicle of the four Operation Summer reward vehicles that I will have a look at. I already presented you the Uhu in a light night gameplay, also the F7 F3 in a gameplay, and the KV 220 in a proper tank review. And for this tank, I also make a proper tank review, and it's not just a tank review for the Grand 1, but also for the American M3 Lee, which is quite literally the same tank, just with a few minor changes, mostly here on the turret. So, I think this is a really good tank. It is, very well protected from the front, especially at its battle rating. When it's getting up tiered, it faces numerous problems, especially Russian and German guns. But overall, the survivability after receiving a hit is also pretty high. Now, I think there is a unique point of annoyance for this tank, and that has to do with the micromanagement, but that has to do with the two guns, which is an advantage. So let's have a look at the armor, and we can see that here this plate low is rounded and reaching from 50 millimeters of effective thickness up to 76, or here at the bottom 123 millimeters, depending on the angle how you look at it. Then this plate is 38 millimeters thick, but it's sloped backwards heavily at 54 degrees, which allows it to reach an effective thickness of 63 millimeters, which is not too bad. Also, because of the angle, a lot of stuff will ricochet. It doesn't look like that, but this is a strong point. Then we have this plate, which is a weak spot, so to speak, for numerous reasons. First of all, it's a big target, and what lies behind doesn't react very well to shells. And 50 millimeters just at 29 degrees, slope backwards, reaching not even 60 millimeters of effective thickness. Then we have this gun in this gun casemate, so to speak. All the armor is just 38 millimeters thick, but there is a lot of rounding going on and sloping, so shells might ricochet and bounce, but they also might go through depending exactly where you hit. And then the side, nothing spectacular, 38 millimeters, as it is the rear. Now, the top of the tank is just 12.7 millimeters, which allows even planes with heavy machine guns or cannons to go through and set your engine on fire or kill the crew. But the really nice thing about this tank is the turret, which is from the side 50 millimeters thick, and from the front 76 millimeters, sloped backwards at nearly 40 degrees. There are a lot of angles, but you reach up to 140 millimeters of effective thickness. That's really strong, and it allows you to go into hull down positions where you can use the good rate of fire of this small gun. Now, the X-ray reveals that we have a lot of ammunition here, and also I think this is machine gun ammunition, but all the 37 millimeter shells are located here all around. Now we also have the transmission in the front and the engine together with the fuel tanks in the back, and we're looking at 6 crew members, the driver, the gunner, and the loader for the big gun sitting here on the left hand side, and the commander together with the gunner and the loader for the small gun sit in within the small turret. So, when you have to face this tank, try to go around. And as I said, the turret rotation speed is not too good. So you can flank it. And from the side, as I've just shown, the armor is not too good. I think the only thing that will have problems are little triple A's without the HVAP. And if you have to face it from the front, don't shoot the turret. Shoot here, as again you will kill the gunner, the commander, and probably the loader in one shot, depending on your ammunition type, and that buys you the time to flank this tank or get into safe cover. So, I think that's the point where we will have a look at the ammunition. And for the 37mm gun, we're looking at two solid shots. And there is not too much difference between those. This one here, the M51 B1 B2 shell, retains its penetration better over distance and also against sloped armor, but the raw penetration at short distances lets me favor this one, as you know, it's a low tier vehicle, battle rating 2.7. That's not too impressive, so just use this one. And for the 75mm gun, the HE is kind of useless, and also this M72 solid shot, while featuring better penetration, is not worth firing, as the M61 shot is the one that people might get excited about. And yes, it's a good shell. The difficulty is just to make it work because of how the gun works. And you should use this one. Nearly 80 millimeters of penetration with actually for this battle rating good high explosive filler. Yeah, that's a good shell. Now, as I said, this tank is very strong in hull down, where it is also pretty survivable. The problem is it's a tall tank. It's a really tall tank. And so, yeah, my playstyle has crystallized itself out to just use this tank and to hide most of the tank. It is not quite as, steamrolling like the M3 was when it first came out, and that has, funnily enough, to do with the British tech tree. The Valentines, together with the Matilda, and in some cases even the Cromwells, feature armor that challenge your penetration values of the guns. Not so much German or even Russian tanks, but the British. They're really hard to kill. You really have to know where to shoot, and their guns in return can also, kill you. The stun mechanic is a real hindrance for this tank. Now, this tank needs support from its team in a steamroll attack. Multiple collection of those tanks will have the potential to really steamroll the enemy pretty hard. So if someone gets knocked out of action temporarily due to the stun mechanic, it can come back while the others kill stuff left, right, and center, and favorably center. Let's have a quick look at the M3 in the American tech tree, and because when we look at the armor, we can see that the turret is weaker by a third. But overall, it's pretty strong. But it features also this machine gun here, which is a 7.62mm turret. Overall, the rest of the tank is quite literally the same, as is the interior. Well, the commander sits a bit higher because he has this commander's machine gun turret. So the armor and everything is the same, except this little turret here is not there, and also the 37mm turret is weaker. But it has to do with the modification. In which way should you research the modifications? Now, the paths are really crucial together with the fire prevention system, and you should get ASAP this M61 shell. This one is not very important, as I just mentioned. The horizontal turret drive is really important for the 37mm turret, as it is the only turret that lets you engage enemies on the side or the rear. Adjustment of fire is of course important. The crew replenishment is also pretty important, as it adds, additional survivability, which is a feature of the M3 and also the M1 Grand. Overall, first go for protection, and then firepower, and then the mobility. Now, the mobility on both tanks is not bad, and we're looking at relatively similar stats. For 28 tons, we're looking at a nearly 800 horsepower machine. So that gives you a rough idea of the horsepower to ton ratio. 27 horsepower per ton in arcade, and nearly half of that in realistic. So the acceleration is not bad. but it's nothing spectacular. The top speed of 43 is decent, but also again nothing spectacular. So it's an average tank in that respect. Now, I think that's it with the theory crafting. Let's hop in some gameplay and let's have a look at the strong sides but also the weak sides of the tank. So, welcome to Eastern Europe, and my tactic here is just simply to flank the enemy to use the high rate of fire of my cannon. Now, it is literally just one battle that I play, and in one battle it's always pretty challenging to focus on the strength and the weaknesses, and all of them, of a tank, to present them very well and to show every example. You just can't do it. I could have picked a scene of numerous battles or from the few battles that I played all together, but I think to suffer through one gameplay in its entirety is more, it teaches you or shows you more about the tank as you see it in complete action. How I got into the situation, how I dealt with the situation, if I died there, what might have been skill based, and what might have been a thing of the tank. Now here I try to avoid the open area as I try to get into position without getting shot. That's something you should do in every tank. Now, as you can see, the mobility is decent, but again, nothing spectacular. Now I'm having a good look at the minimap. I see that there are potential targets, but for a moment I thought reversing to have a good shot at them, and then I see for a moment an enemy tank popping up on my side of the river, and I can't have that. And there you can see the two guns in action. Missed the first, missed the second, but I have such a good reload that I take him out. He obviously missed also his shell. Second bounces, fourth shell goes in, and yeah. Now there is an option to change between the guns, but due to the limited firing arc of the big gun and its long reload, I use it as secondary gun. Maybe when I have the side of a tank and I'm literally, sticking my gun into him, then I can pull the trigger. I've also set them to both mouse keys. I see this M22, one quick shot with the small gun, and I'm already reloaded, so that is the good side. And then I decide to camp here, and I then reverse around here. I always try to have the frontal armor towards the enemy. I shoot here through the fence piles, so to speak, and then kill him with the second shot. Again, the kill cam is your biggest asset, or your most important tool when you are using solid shots. And then there is this Valentine. This is a hard nut to crack for me, despite the green marker. This guy just rips me apart, but then I get the killing shot onto him. Just my 4th kills. Normally I wreck at low tiers, but this tank is not so easy to make work for me. Again, when the M3 came out, it was a really good tank. I guess not a lot of people knew how to deal with it or where to shoot it. And it seems like that has significantly changed. So I take out the second M22 Locust, and then I see this M5A1. And again, the 75mm goes wild. And I hear planes. And then that was a plane, as I told you in the tank review. It was actually a German plane with MGFFs that set me on fire, attacking from the rear. So that tells you that this is actually pretty vulnerable. And then there is this Cromwell 5. And this is the fight of how difficult it is to take this tank out with one shell. I hope that I get in another shell, and indeed I get one in. I'm on last man standing, and I wait until he comes forward, but then there is this Panzer 3B coming. I put one into him, and despite being on one crew member, the reload rate is good enough to finish off the Panzer 3B, and then actually reload in time for the Cromwell 5. I wiggle here the turret, he dunks his shell, and yeah, I get another shell into him. And then the stupid thing happens. The gunner goes for the big gun. And that is literally my death sentence. If I had him on the small gun, whether in my opinion there is, or as far as I know, there is no option for me to switch between the gunner positions. And then, yeah, I saw him too late, but even then there was nothing I could do. My gun was disabled, and so this M3 finishes me off from behind, slowly but surely. And that is, a good thing about this tank, that it takes so long to be killed, which holds off the enemy advantage. You're not a ruffle stomp tank that gets one-shotted like a lot of other tanks. So, after that, I don't respawn, and let's have a quick look at the post-battle result screens. And we can see that for 8 kills, 2 assists and 9 critical hits, I got 24,390 silver lines and 4,795 research points. So while the silver line earning is still low, we're looking at tanks, the research points are not on the bad side, I have to say. And I was first on team with 2,642 score points. So that's the M3 Lee / Cruiser Tank Grant 1 for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and see you next time on the battlefield.